Alright, ebusian for mamda mu na masi emfambra ye channel yiso. Medo bibiasi ediba ye channel yiso. Na masel say notification button ehun hia me ye pa obetene ne on. Say the updates bebe bia onso nsa be den e be ka no ahwe. Na bibia aye kama kama. Say the news e mu hwam na ye de bra mu. E brentima nyibre. Yenkotie ensem kakra ekoso.
This is why Justice Tokonu is saying that let us be careful and look at these things properly. There's one of the Justice Tokonu cases, for instance. There is Article 146, and it runs from, I think, 1461 to 1466. Article 146 is the impeachment of the Chief Justice and Supreme Court Justice. Article 146 is clear. It gives you a way to impeach or remove the Chief Justice. Then it prescribes an entirely different way to remove a Supreme Court judge. Justice Tokonu says that you took me through Article 146(6). That's 146 clause 6. That is a prescription and a direction for the removal of Chief Justice. I am a Supreme Court judge before I become a Chief Justice. Chief Justice is by appointment. Supreme Court judge is my level of justice work. You have removed me by Article 146(6). Therefore, you have only removed me as Chief Justice. You cannot purport to use Article 146(6) to remove me as a Supreme Court judge, because the removal of a Supreme Court judge is clearly prescribed and defined in Article 146(3). That matter is lying before the Supreme Court. Hear it, Supreme Court hasn't heard it. Maybe they will hear it. I'm sure they will hear it, but we don't know when. These are the things that Alex Markin was saying, that can we resolve these matters in the interest of clarity of the law and the application thereof before we come to appoint a new Chief Justice? That's all that Alex Markin was asking for. Can we hear these matters? These are matters that are germane. They are fundamental to the operation of our law under a constitution approved by the people of Ghana in April 1992 by a referendum. And that we need, as of necessity, to hear these matters. Speaker Bagbin is right. He says, well, Parliament has a job to do. We have to vet the nominee of the president. By vetting him, we have not appointed him as Chief Justice. So we will proceed with the vetting. I agree with that. I think many people agree with that. But now, Parliament has finished his work. His Excellency, the President, now has the duty to appoint a new Chief Justice. Should John Dramani Mahama proceed to appoint a new Chief Justice without these matters having been ventilated by the highest court of the land? Should he? Well, if we chant the answer in political tones, then everybody under the umbrella will say, yes, he should. And other people will say, no, he shouldn't. But should it be the umbrella or the elephant that controls our democratic existence? No, it should be the law, the 1992 Constitution. That's what governs our democratic existence. So, the point I'm bringing to you, just a short one, I'm done, is that let's not perceive Justice Tokonu's pursuit of these matters as claiming to own the judicial chair of the Chief Justice, that when she was giving birth to, it was for her. Or that when she finished Faculty of Law, she was told that you will own the Chief Justice chair and you can take it home. No, that's not what she's saying. She finds herself in a situation that she needs to do service to the people of Ghana by going to the court to ask them these questions for tomorrow. The minority leader of the day, Joseph Henry Mensah, was in Parliament one day when a list came from the Speaker that this is a list of the ministers that the President wants to continue with them. J.H. Mensah called his lawyer Akufo-Addo and said, Nanado, is this something that we can do? Speaker says that a list has come from the President that the people are called retained ministers. Is there something like retained ministers in the Constitution? Nana Akufo-Addo said, no, there's nothing like that. The NDC said there's something. I said, no, let's go to the Supreme Court. They went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court determined that every minister's tenure ends with the president. And that when the president goes to an election and he's re-elected, the ministers must come through vetting again. And that's what we have used since then. That is why Ghana's democracy has been admired. That is why in the book that I wrote, I talked about the Supreme Court as being the backbone of Ghana's constitutional existence. Without the Supreme Court, we won't be here. It's the same thing Justice Tokono is doing. She's a Chief Justice. She's been told that an impeachment has come against her, pursuant to Article 1466. She goes through the process. She's very unhappy about many things in the process. Nonetheless, they remove her. She doesn't see the prima facie, the warrant of removal. She thinks is wrong, etc., etc. She says, okay, you've removed you as Chief Justice. I'm going back to the court. They say, hey, no, you can't come. We have removed you as both. When the Constitution prescribes how you remove a Supreme Court judge, different and distinguished from how you remove a Chief Justice, is that how we want to run our republic? Answer the question yourself, viewers. Answer the question yourself. Now, I have terribly dangerous. It is so dangerous. If we are not careful, we are losing our armed forces. This is the diagram that I put together. It's called the civilization of the military. In the days when I lived in Burma camp, this is the Ghana Armed Forces. The Ghana Armed Forces inside the barracks had its own schools. I attended one of them. Great school. It had its own market. I've been there so many times. They call it Soldier Market. And there's everything there. There is nane. Do you know nane? Nane is the pig's feet, the one they can use for jollof. It can be very nice. They sell nane at the Burma camp market. There's shop. It's called Gaffy. It's like Maxmart or those departmental kind of shops. It's there. It's right there in Burma camp. Subsidized. And there's hospital. I'll show you some of the photographs. So I lived in Burma Villas, number 27 Burma Villas. I'll never forget. My telephone number was 3304. Now 27 Burma Villas, okay. From number 27 Burma Villas to the school I attended called Garrison Primary School, it's a walking distance. It's 5-6 minutes walk. When my father, who was a soldier, wakes up in the morning, he's preparing his stuff. He doesn't think about how I will go to school. It's not part of his thinking. I will just walk to school. He knows that I will. If I am ready, when he's ready, he just might drop me in front of the school and then he will continue to his office. When I'm standing in my school, I can see my father's office. When my father is in his office, he can see the school. When I move a little bit away from the school, I can see my house. It was the same for all my friends. We all like that. Those of you who live in Burma Villas, you go to Garrison Primary or Kotoka Primary. And then those who live in Labadi Villas will go to Services Primary. Those who live in Arakan will go to Forces Primary. Those who live in Air Force will go to Air Force Primary. And the schools were so good that we could come out of these schools and go to Presec and compete with the people who went to Morningstar and all of these that bad schools. We could do that because the soldiers made sure that the school was good. Today, it's not the same. Colleagues of mine that I went to Garrison Primary with who have become military officers, some of my colleagues are brigadier generals right now. I don't want to mention their names. They can't take their children to the same schools that we went to. They have to take their children to the civilian school that's more expensive. And that's where we are losing our military. The hospital was there. Let me show you some of the photographs. Okay. So, these are the schools. Okay. That's the entrance to my school, Garrison Primary School. It's still there. P.O. Box 243, Burma Camp Accra. This is the entrance. You can't see the school well, but it's nicer than this. But you know, this is the entrance. This is Garrison Primary School, where I studied. Then this is Services Primary School, where my younger sister studied. This is Services Primary School. It's there. And then this is Air Force Base Primary School. This is it. It's still there. It's there. This is Douala Hospital. Now, this Douala Hospital, many of you don't know it. You know 37. No, 37 is tertiary. Douala Hospital was the hospital that when we get malaria and we are sick and they take us to Douala. It's inside Burma camp. You don't see it. So the soldiers had a way of working that they don't need to spend like the civilians. They have a shop, they have a market. But today, Garrison Primary School is not functioning the same way it's functioning. It used to function. If I am an army officer today of the rank of colonel, like my colleagues in the Burma camp, they don't take their children to Services Primary School anymore because Services Primary School can no longer compete with Morningstar, it cannot compete with Soul Clinic, and it cannot compete with Red Church School. We used to compete with them. So good was the competition. I'll show you something else. Here, this is Christ the King School. We could compete with them and even beat them. We go to Presec with them. We go to St. Augustine's. Many other people went to Garrison Primary School. Are scientists. They are doctors in America. They are all over the place. Even beauty pageant. Girls from Burma camp were winning Miss Ghana. Should I mention their names? Maybe they don't want me to mention their names. But girls we grew up with were winning Miss Ghana. They go from Services Primary School. They are in Wesley Girls. They are in St. Rosie's. They are in Holy Child. They are going to University of Ghana. They win Miss Ghana. That is how Burma camp was. Today, it's not like that anymore. The soldier must take his child to Christ the King and take his child to Morningstar and go and pay hefty fees to reach the school. I had a teacher who taught me, who used to live with us. He's called Mr. Ofair. I'm sure he doesn't mind me mentioning his name. Mr. Ofair today teaches at Morning Star School. Many years ago, he called me. He said he saw me on TV. He was very excited, asking where's my mother, blah, blah, blah. And they always ask that question. Mr. Ofair teaches at Morning Star School. Mr. Ofair. Mr. Asante, who was my teacher in primary school, today is teaching at Christ the King. Why can't Mr. Asante continue to teach at Garrison the way he taught? He was a great teacher. He's still a fantastic teacher. He's teaching at Christ. He's now teaching at Christ the King. I see him and I said, Mr. Asante, where are you? So I'm in Christ the King. He couldn't. The Burma camp could not hold him. There's something that is getting wrong with our military, and we must look at it carefully. Otherwise, we are losing the military. If we make the military civilian, when I was a kid growing up, you don't see soldiers in town sitting in church. No way. No way. That should never happen. A soldier, then he's at 37, then the church has come, then he's wearing camouflage. I look at the thing and I'm mortified. What is this? Where did our military go? What has happened to the... That's why sometimes I miss J.J. Rawlings. What has happened to the military? Military people come to Burma camp, they take off their clothes and they come to the civilian. If you see soldiers in town, they are waiting for a military truck that will pick all of them and go. So they don't join, they look at the truck, they don't join it. If there's a quarrel, they can settle it. They are not interested in the truck. A military truck will come and pick them. How much does it cost? How much does it cost? We really need to make sure that our military is going back to the days where it was an independent military. It doesn't have to come to town to come and get bread and come to Maxmart, and the market in Burma camp doesn't have this, so they are coming to town. The schools are not good, so they are coming to town. The Douala hospital doesn't have malaria pills, so they are coming to town. Soldiers should not need to come to town. So good were the schools in Burma camp that high-profile government officials brought their children there. And I can say this because their children were in my class. Justice D.F. Annan. He was the number 2 person in the PNDC. Justice Annan brought his children to Garrison Primary School. I think they were in Morning Star or something like that. Because Garrison Primary School was as good as Morning Star. It was as good as Christ the King. It was as good as Red Church. So Justice Annan brought his children there. Miss Joyce Ayi brought her son to Burma Camp Secondary School. Alhaji Mumuni Baumia, he brought his son to Burma Camp School. His name is Yakubu Baumia. These days they call him Jake. I sat in the same classroom with Yakubu Baumia. His father was Mumuni Baumia. My father was Major Archery. It didn't matter because Garrison Primary School was a very good school. Garrison Primary School is still there. The question, Sefakai was in Garrison Primary School. Patrick Ban, he's a scientist in America. He was in Garrison Primary School. Mensa Wood's children, they were in Garrison Primary School. Everybody was in services and Garrison and Forces and Air Force. Bridget Jugbenuku, she was in Forces Primary School. So what has happened is very, very dangerous and it's very, very serious. If we don't retool our military so that the military forces can stay in Burma camp, why is military recruiting and we can see it? Why should we see it? Military is recruiting at Elwak and we are all, hey, soldier. Why? Military is recruiting and it is in all of us, it's on our phones. Ghana has been embarrassed. The whole world. Everybody's asking. Military recruiting and it's a conversation. Everybody is seeing it. I don't even want people to know I'm being recruited in the military. So you see, they are standing in the queue. When you're looking at them, they turn. Have you noticed? When you're looking at them, they turn away. Military is recruiting. We are doing it in the heart of the capital. And we are everybody is there. Hey, just soldier. Military is a distinguished service. It's a distinguished career. We shouldn't know when military is recruiting. There should be some trucks that is driving them into Burma camp. They pick them from somewhere. They could have put all of them at the Legon Stadium. You know you are expecting 21,000 people. The Team Forger will deal with those things. You know you're expecting 21,000 people. They could have put them at the Legon Stadium. Each day, 5,000. Drive them to Burma camp, to the Air Force Station. You can drive them to Military Academy, to the square, and put them there. So all we'll see is buses wheeling some people somewhere. What is military is recruiting and we are all inside. And people are filming and filming what? The DPR has a television setup. They should be the only people to film these things. Nobody should be allowed to bring mobile phone in there. This is about the military. It's not military for me, for you. It's Ghana Armed Forces. We should get serious in this country. Democracy doesn't mean we should undermine the military. It is key and critical that we get this thing right. I'll leave it here. Time is running. I'll leave it here. Let me go to the